The virus was named hantavirus after the Han River in South Korea. It's also known as epidemic hemorrhage fever. This bleeding disease has two serious illnesses: hemorrhagic fever with Raynaud syndrome, also known as HFRS, and hantavirus pulmonary syndrome, HPS. It is found in various rodents such as mice, rats, and voles, but most specifically the striped field mouse. The actual animals don't have the virus, but is passed on to humans by exposure to urine, feces, or saliva of the rodents. For example, if you were to clean out a cabin that has not been used for a time, the disturbed particles of the confined area can be inhaled to cause infection. The symptoms of the infection first observed in the spring of 1951 when many UN soldiers laid with a flushed face, chills, high fever, anorexia, severe headaches, muscle and joint pains, vomiting, and varied hemorrhagic symptoms. It can also cause a malfunction of the kidneys and low platelet count. And because the blood cells are important in proper clotting, the low number of circulating platelets can result in spontaneous bleeding or hemorrhage. Who does it attack? The disease can affect anyone and at any location. During the Korean War, 2,500 U.S. troops were infected, and it killed about 5 to 10% of them. It virtually went unnoticed until 1993 when an outbreak occurred in the Four Corners region of southwestern U.S. that was blamed for the death of 32 people out of 53 infected. It virtually went... The Korean War dated from 1950 to 1953, and nearly 1,000 UN soldiers were attacked by this virus by the end of 1951. 80 of them died. All through 1952, another 1,000 cases were treated. Soldiers of every nationality were affected. Cases were reported even after the hostilities had ended. In 1953 and 1954, there were another 1,000 cases, bringing the total of hantavirus cases among the United Nations forces to 3,000. Ways of preventing the hantavirus would be to wear masks while cleaning out confined areas. There were no vaccines, effective antiviral drugs, or immunities to prevent or treat the hantavirus. The most we can do is educate people. Ways of stopping its spread, at least during the Korean War, was by flamethrowers, whom often used to clear brush and debris in hopes of eliminating the breeding and nesting places of disease carriers. This was unsuccessful. During the Korean War, it was spread while the U.S. Marines were getting prepared in the field, where mice and rats roam around, making the Marines vulnerable to the hantavirus. Allied forces, mostly Americans, moving up and down the battle-torn peninsula so many years earlier, not only lived and fought in desolated fields, but they occupied cities and villages destroyed by war. Sometimes they took refuge in these abandoned, filth-permeated houses and buildings where rats proliferated. To facilitate treatment and research, the United States Army Medical Service set up a hemorrhagic fever center in southern Korea. Suspected cases were airlifted to this center for diagnosis and treatment. Meanwhile, the disease was also spread southward through civilian populations, affecting, in some cases, even children under 10 years of age. When the South Korean Army assumed charge of the demilitarized zone after the war, hantavirus was the major infectious disease they had to contend with. Any donations will be greatly appreciated. The money funded will go to more treatment centers and research facilities in Korea, where the virus is the worst.